He married his mistress while he was still married to me, and I found out from my mother-in-law's Instagram like it was a cute family update. The next week, I quietly sold our $100 million mansion out from under him, so he came home to strangers unpacking boxes in what he thought was our living room. So let me ask you right now, before you hear the rest. If that happened to you, would you burn it all down, or would you turn it into a masterpiece? Hi family, my name is Janine, and this is not a fairy tale. This is the story of how I built empires while my husband built lies, how he secretly married another woman, how I ripped away the life he was standing on, and how in the end the real revenge was not watching him fall. It was realizing I honestly did not care anymore. If you feel any part of this in your soul, drop in the comments where you're watching from and what you would have done, because I promise you, this ride is not simple. Let me start by saying this so nobody gets it twisted. I was never the girl who married into money. I was the money. While other people built Pinterest boards about their dream kitchen, I was negotiating my first hotel deal with men who called me sweetheart and thought it was charming, while I was signing papers worth more than their summer houses. By my late 30s, I owned 7 luxury hotels across 3 continents. I lived out of airports and boardrooms. I could scan a balance sheet in 30 seconds, feel a market shift in my gut, and fake a polite laugh at rich men who underestimated me. I chose Charlie Moore because I thought I needed a partner who could stand next to me in that world. Handsome, charming, easy in a tux, smooth with donors, funny with staff, the kind of man who photographs well at charity galas and shakes hands like opportunity. To everyone watching, we were a power couple. Beacon Hill Mansion art on the walls, black cars at the door, vacations that looked like magazine spreads. People saw the pictures and said, goals. Behind those pictures, the cracks were hairline at first. More trips for him. Vague explanations. Late-night meetings that never quite made sense. But we were busy, we were building, and I thought, this is what ambitious marriages look like, right? Full calendars, separate flights, trust. You know that voice in your head that whispers something's off, and then you shush it because you don't want to be dramatic. Yeah, I heard it. I ignored it. The day everything snapped into focus, I was in Milan, in a corner suite overlooking the Duomo, the kind of view people post with 5 hashtags. I'd been in a 6-hour negotiation to buy a Lake Como boutique hotel, old family ownership, stubborn, sentimental, the usual. My team was exhausted, the sellers were rattled. I was smiling because the numbers were finally where I wanted them. We signed. Champagne came out. Rebecca, my assistant, handed me a glass, said, "You did it." I allowed myself exactly 3 sips. My phone buzzed on the marble table. Instagram. Constance, my mother-in-law. She posts her roses, her Pomeranian in sweaters, her ladies' lunches. It was muscle memory at that point. I tapped it without thinking. The photo loaded slow, like a horror movie, frame by frame. First the ocean, then a strip of beach, then my husband, Charlie, in a tux. Barefoot, tanned, smiling like a commercial. His hands wrapped around a blonde woman in a white dress veil, blowing back bouquet clutched tight. Their mouths pressed together like a wedding ad. The caption read, "Welcome to the family Piper. So blessed to have 2 daughters-in-law. My heart is so full." 2 daughters-in-law. Pattern interrupt, my hand did not shake. I put the glass down exactly on its coaster. I zoomed in to make sure my eyes were not lying. I read the caption again, searching for a joke, an emoji, an explanation. Nothing. Just my husband and his beach bride. Rebecca was staring at me now, waiting for screaming, sobbing, a scene. I felt something else instead, like ice water filling my veins, clearing everything out. "Clear the room," I said quietly. "Now." Then bring me my lawyer's number, my real estate broker, and my private investigator, in that order. Everybody left so fast you would have thought the building caught fire. I sat alone with that picture. No tears, no shaking, no why me. Just math. Timeline. Consequences. First call Harrison, my attorney. I'm texting you a screenshot. I said, my voice flat. I need to know if I'm still legally married, if this other marriage is legal, and I want every possible legal and financial option on my desk in 12 hours. He cursed softly, then caught himself. Janine, I'm so... Don't be sorry. I cut him off, be thorough. Second call Desmond, my broker. I need to sell the Beacon Hill house. He laughed, at first thought I was joking. That house is worth at least 100 mil if we... I know what it's worth. I said, I want it listed now. Call everyone who ever wanted it, especially Fontaine. I want a fast close. What's going on? My husband just got married. I said, that's what's going on. Can you move it or not? Silence then, I'll move it. Third call my investigator, a woman named Imani, who never needed drama to do damage. Charlie Moore, I said, I want everything. Travel accounts, properties. I don't know about women, I don't know about connections to a woman named Piper. No ceiling, no soft gloves. How far do you want me to dig? She asked. To the bottom, I said. If the bottom is hell, send me a postcard. On the flight home, while other people watched movies and slept under thin blankets, I opened my laptop and went to war. Assets in my name, joint accounts, corporate authorizations, all of it spread like a tactical map. I moved 18 million from joint to personal, legally cleanly within my rights. Sold 2 investment properties that could be liquidated fast. Changed passwords. Started walling off every door he might try to sneak through. The couple next to me finally said, long day. I smiled. Just planning my future. Halfway over the Atlantic, my phone lit up with Wi-Fi and Harrison's email. Then his call. It's real, he said. He married her in the Maldives 3 weeks ago. You're still legally married. It's bigamy. We can go criminal. We can bury him. I don't want him in prison, I said. You don't, he repeated, thrown off. Then what do you want? I looked out at that void of clouds and thought of every night I'd fallen asleep alone in that huge house, every time I'd believed him, defended him. I want him to lose everything he built on my back. I said, not fast, not quietly. I want him to feel it. Give me 48 hours. You have 24. If it were you, what would you have done in that seat at 30,000 feet, with proof your whole life was a lie? Drop it in the comments, I read them. I landed in Boston at dawn. The city was soft and empty pink light on brick. Thomas picked me up in the town car like any other trip. We drove to the Beacon Hill mansion, that red brick monument people drooled over on architecture blogs. I walked in through the front door like I hadn't just watched my marriage explode over airplane Wi-Fi. The house smelled like expensive candles, polished wood, curated perfection. None of it felt like mine anymore. Desmond called. I spoke to Judge Fontaine. He's very interested. If we move fast, we can maybe do 85 to 90, but you'll be taking a hit. I don't care about the hit. I said I care that my husband comes home and it isn't his. That afternoon, Fontaine and his wife walked the house, their architect measuring sight lines, talking renovations. They loved it. At the end, he said, I can offer 87 million, cash, 7-day close. Desmond jumped in. Honestly, it's worth more if we... I'll take it. I said, on one condition. I changed the locks today, you get everything as is. Furniture, art, wine, all of it. Fontaine blinked. All of it. It's practical. I said, I don't want any of it. When they left, Desmond turned to me, eyes wide. Janine, you just left millions on the table in furnishings alone. I'm buying time, I said, not rugs. Pattern interrupt that chandelier he loved so much. I left it. Enjoy, Judge. While the sale machinery turned, I had Harrison file to freeze what could still be frozen. I had my staff move my personal belongings to a hotel suite. I had security get very clear instructions about who was allowed near me. Imani started sending reports. Private apartment in Manhattan I never knew about. Cars bought with funds that traced back to our joint accounts. Trips that were not solo. A name confirmed Piper Whitlock. By the time the sale closed, all the pieces were in motion. Here comes one of my favorite scenes, I won't lie. Charlie flew back, confident as ever, strolled up to our front door with his key in hand. The new locks didn't care. Inside, the Fontaines were unpacking. He pounded, yelled, tried to assert ownership. They called the police. I know because Fontaine texted me a delightful play-by-play. My phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up, put it on speaker at dinner with Desmond. "Janine, what did you do?" Charlie shouted, voice cracking. "You sold our house." "My house," I said, calm, "bought with my money in my name. I sold it for $87 million, into my account." "You can't just do that, that's insane. I'll fight you, Please do." I cut in. "I have your second marriage certificate, records of your transfers, proof you stole from our accounts. Take me to court, let's let a judge hear the whole story." Silence, breathing, then more shouting. I hung up and blocked the number. Desmond looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "You're terrifying," he said. "I'm just done," I said. Losing the house was just the opening act. Next came Spencer Ventures, the holding company that legally, structurally I controlled, but cosmetically had both our names. Boardroom, glass walls, skyline view. Heavy chairs, heavier wallets. The people at that table managed billions. They were used to whispers of scandal. They'd been hearing things. "Thank you for coming," I started. "I'm sure you've heard rumors. I'm not here to litigate my marriage. I'm here to protect this company." I slid packets across the table. Expenses, loans, transfers approved by Charlie alone. "These are unauthorized uses of company funds." I said, "personal gambling markers, luxury travel that never involved operations, collateralized loans without full board approval." Charlie tried to interject. "Janine, this is between us. We can talk about—" "Sit down," I said. I did not raise my voice. He sat. "Dorothy." Our chairwoman flipped through the pages, eyebrows climbing. "Are you prepared to stand behind every line of this?" she asked me. "Yes," I said, "audited, documented." "Is any of this inaccurate?" she asked him. "It's complicated. I was going to pay it back. With what?" I asked. "With the money you stole from me, or the money you promised a casino owner, or the money you haven't told them about yet." It took under 10 minutes. Vote called. Majority. Charlie removed. Titles stripped. Security asked him to leave. On his way out, he glared at me like I had set fire to his life. Pattern interrupt. I didn't. I just turned the lights on. Now here is where most stories stop at "she wrecked him." But my story took a turn that even I did not see coming. And this is the twist you need to hear. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. A few days later, Imani came back with the deeper file. "He's been siphoning for years," she said, small and regular so it looked like noise. "Total around 40 million. "Into what?" I asked, my voice flat again. "Shell companies. Offshore. But he wasn't stockpiling. He was paying someone. And he's still short." "Who?" "Dorian Whitlock," she said, watching my face, "Piper's father. Let me paint this for you. Powerful casino owner, serious money, serious friends. Charlie had racked up gambling debts and bad bets, borrowed from Dorian, lost it. Tried to fix it with non-existent deals. When that didn't work, he married Piper as leverage, pretending it was love, but really trying to convert her into collateral. So no, it wasn't just cheating. He had put my money, my name, my security on a collision course with a man who could ruin lives before breakfast. "Does Dorian know I'm out?" I asked. "I made sure," Imani said. "Documents showing your separation, your legal actions. Dorian is many things, but he is transactional. He'll go after the signature on the debt." That should have made me feel safe. It made me furious, because now this wasn't just about a broken heart. This was about a woman being used as a bank, a shield, a solution without her consent. So I called Piper. We met privately at one of my boutique hotels. She came in, nervous, heavily pregnant, clutching her bag like a life raft. She looked like every girl who's been fed a fantasy by a charming man with dead eyes. "Did you know he was married to me when he married you?" I asked. Her eyes filled instantly. "No," she said, voice shaking. "I swear I didn't know until I saw what you leaked. He told me you guys were separated, that it was amicable, that you were fine." Of course he did. "Did you know about the money from your father?" I asked. "Not at first," she said. Then I overheard them arguing. My dad said he'd forgive the debt if Charlie married me, keep it in the family. I thought it meant Charlie really loved me. I was stupid. "You were lied to," I said, and I meant it. "Here's the situation. Your father wants his money back. Charlie doesn't have it. I know where some of it is. I am not paying 1 cent for his mess. But I will help your child." She blinked, stunned. "Why would you help me?" she whispered. "You were a pawn," I said. "Hurting you does nothing but make me cruel. I'm not here for that." I laid it out. I would share info that helped Dorian recover his missing money from the hidden accounts on one condition. He signs a legal agreement never to come after me or my businesses for Charlie's debts. In parallel, I would set up a trust for Piper's baby, 20 million, locked independent trustees, shielding them from both Charlie and Dorian's control. Her first reaction wasn't gratitude. It was suspicion. Good. Then she straightened up and said, "I'll help expose him. He lied to both of us." That was the twist. The woman he married to save himself became part of the case that protected me and undid him. Do you think that was fair, or did I go too far, using information like a weapon while still playing savior for his other victim? Tell me. Meanwhile, there's Ezra. We had been orbiting each other through work. But this is where he quietly starts to matter. He saw me at my coldest, my most strategic, and instead of flinching, he said things like, "You know you don't have to carry this alone, right?" over late-night takeout and rolled-up blueprints. He got absorbed in his designs, forgot to text, sometimes annoyed me, then showed up with real apologies, not excuses. He didn't try to fix it all for me. He just stood next to me while I fixed it myself. One night after that viral video of Charlie melting down in one of my hotel lobbies hit the internet, Ezra called. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm fine." I lied, staring at comments calling Charlie every name and calling me savage like this was entertainment. "You sound tired," he said. "Can I say something that might annoy you?" "Probably. At some point you have to decide if your goal is to keep punishing him or to be free of him," he said. "Those are not the same thing." I wanted to argue. I didn't. Because deep down I knew he was right. Revenge had a high I had been riding, but it was also keeping Charlie in the center of my decisions. Pattern interrupt. That's when I realized I didn't want him destroyed as much as I wanted him irrelevant. So I shifted. I let Harrison push the existing cases. I let the boards and clubs do what they were going to do. But I stopped designing new ways to humiliate him. I took that energy and threw it into expansion, into my foundation, into something that wasn't about him. I also took Ezra up on his invitation to see London. London felt like a reset button. His world there was creative, scrappy, idealistic. His friends asked me about sustainability in my hotels, about labor practices, about things that mattered. Nobody cared about Boston gossip. Nobody saw me as the wife who sold the mansion. I was just Janine who built beautiful things. Back home, Constance showed up one day, smaller, shaking, asking to speak to me in the lobby of one of my hotels. She told me she was sorry that she'd believed Charlie, that Flynn had forced her to see who he really was, that watching her golden boy fall apart was killing her. "You wanted a son you could protect," I said. "You raised a man who thought consequences were optional." "I know," she whispered. "I can't fix what I did to you." "I don't need you to," I said. "I just need you to stop making excuses for him." We left it there. Months later settled between Boston and London, file work mostly done, foundation thriving. I got a handwritten letter from Oregon, from Charlie. He wrote about rehab, about therapy that stripped him down to the parts he had been hiding for years, about a job at a credit union, helping people not make his mistakes. He didn't ask to come back. He didn't blame me. He said my leaving, my ruthlessness, had saved his life, that hitting bottom in public had forced him to actually look at himself. I finished it feeling calm. It didn't change my choices. It didn't undo the pain. But it confirmed something I had started to suspect, that releasing him fully had been the right move, not just for me, but for him. I did not respond. By then, Ezra and I were living together in Notting Hill. My hotels were expanding into Europe. My foundation had gone international. One random Tuesday morning in our messy, sunlit kitchen, he got down on one knee with a simple ring and said, "I'm not trying to be another chapter after chaos. I want to build an actual life with you. Not perfect, real. Will you do that with me?" I said yes before he finished the sentence. We got married in a quiet ceremony in the English countryside, surrounded by people who had seen all of it and still believed in love. Flynn came. Simone came. Desmond and Harrison toasted to upgraded husband selection. Constance sent a painting from my childhood she had tracked down, buying it back for me, with a note that said, "I cannot undo the harm, but I can honor the woman you are." During dinner, I saw a text from an Oregon area code. "Congratulations, you deserve this. I'm truly glad." I looked at it for 3 seconds, then deleted it. Not out of hate, out of disinterest. Because this is the part that might upset some of you. In the end, the win for me wasn't selling the house or getting him kicked off boards or watching clubs slam their doors on him. Those were satisfying, yes. But the real victory was emotional. It was the day I realized he no longer had the power to move my pulse. We had a daughter, Thea, then a son. We kept growing the businesses, the foundation, our weird little cross-Atlantic life. I taught my kids that love isn't about fairy tales and grand gestures. It's about who shows up, who tells the truth when it's hard, who doesn't turn you into collateral for their ego. One night, Thea asked me if princes and princesses stay together forever. Real life is different. I told her I picked the wrong person once. Then I picked better. The important thing is I never stopped picking myself. She thought about it very seriously. "Daddy's not a prince. He's just Daddy." "Exactly," I said. "That's better. So here's where I leave this with you. And I want you to answer. Really answer, not just watch and scroll. Was I cruel or was I fair, selling the house fast, exposing his fraud, partnering with his second wife to take away his safety net, building a foundation off the back of our disaster? Was that justice or just expensive revenge dressed up as empowerment? Do people like Charlie, who finally do the work and change, deserve a clean slate in the public eye? Or should some choices follow you for life? When a woman fights back with money and strategy instead of tears, why do people suddenly call her cold, heartless, too much, when men have been doing it in boardrooms forever? If it were you, if you opened your phone and saw your spouse at an altar with someone else, would you torch everything? Walk away quietly, or do what I did and turn the whole story inside out? Tell me in the comments. Argue with me. Share your own story if you've been cheated on, financially controlled, lied to, or if you had to rebuild from zero because someone else thought you were their safety net. If my story lit a fire in you or gave you words for something you went through, hit like so it reaches someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you want more real stories told without sugarcoating, and send this to the one friend who still thinks staying small is the safest option. Because at the end of the day, the loudest answer I can give you is this: the greatest revenge is not his fall, it's your rise. Not his punishment, it's your peace.